Types of articulatory gestures. It's another important aspect of the articulatory phonetics. And we are required to know, since we know the targets, so we are also required to know that what are those types of approaches. Like how is a particular place approached in order to produce more than one sounds from the same target, from the same place, right? So it's like the discussion on the manners of articulation, right? As human beings are very much capable of producing sounds, we have an abundance of sounds, okay, possible human speech sounds, and a rich array is available. And there are, places, there are regions in the world where linguistically people are quite rich, right? Like one example is that the Hindu Kush Himalayan region of Pakistani area, even, right, where quite a number of languages are spoken. And I can give you the example of Chitral district of Pakistan, where 16, 17 languages are spoken within one single district. So you can just imagine that how rich is, the abilities of, how rich are the abilities of human beings to produce various sounds, right? So there are various possibilities, and we must be able to describe those types of articulatory gestures in terms of the manners of articulation, right? And in a very most, in a very simple sense, like how differently is one particular target, one particular place of articulation is approached by human beings, right? So that's the logic behind discussing the types of articulatory gestures. Like we have so many vowels. There are languages in which 20 plus vowels are found, and English is the example, right? Although there could be some other languages where the vocalic inventory is quite reduced. Maybe there are languages with 4 or 5 vowels, right? But then on the other hand, there are languages where we have, quite a number of consonants, 30 plus consonants, right? Like the example of Urdu. And in English, we have 24 consonants, right? So that's very much possible that languages would have different possibilities, different phonemes. And we must be able to describe those differences and those, variations in the approaches towards the targets of the articulatory gestures, right? So that's the point, that we must be able to describe the rich array available to human beings for the sake of speech sounds. And one example which I can put here is that the retroflexion, right? When the tongue is curled behind, right? The retroflex sounds in the process which is involved in the production of retroflex sounds. There are languages which have 5 retroflex sounds, right? Like Pashto has 5 retroflex sounds, the Afghan variety of Pashto, right? And this retroflexion is also found in American variety of English, right? But that's an allophonic variety, because retroflex is not a phoneme in American English, right? Although in RP accent we don't have retroflex sound. So that's a good example that how do we have variation, how do we have difference for the, the languages and for the speech production. And nasal sounds, that's another example, that in some languages there are quite a number of nasal sounds. And then there are stops, right? And then even sounds are found which are quite difficult to be pronounced by the speakers of other languages, right? And as the student of phonetics and phonology, you may not be able to describe, you may not be able to pronounce that sound, but you should be able to describe that sound, because the possibilities are describable. Those approaches are describable. Although we may not be able to, practically produce a specific speech sound, but as an expert of linguistics, as an expert of phonetics and phonology, we must be able to describe the process through which the sound is produced, right? So let me just give you an example of this rich array of human beings, which is available to human beings in terms of various sounds. Like there are nasal sounds, there are stops, and there are fricatives. And you see that at bilabial level, nasal is m and p b are the stops, which are very much possible. But we can also have fricatives at bilabial position. You see? Isn't it really important? Because we may not be able to produce these sounds, but we must know that how is it possible as the process of, articulatory gestures. Similarly, if we go forward and see that how much sounds are available at the labiodental position, right? Like this m, it's possible while it is labiodental. You are touching, your lower lip is touching the upper, teeth, and the sound is ma. So if you can try to produce this sound, like as a student, you can try to produce this labiodental. So it would be like ma, ma, okay? And then FOVO are very popular, and these are applied in English, so we need not to describe them. A dental sound, n could be dental in some languages, you see, and there is a symbol of this, dental, okay? And same is the case with th and the. Like th, this is particular th and the, which are produced by the learners of Urdu when they are learning English, right? So the English sounds which are th and the sounds like the Greek theta, right? The th. So it's fricative in English, but we Pakistanis or Indians, when we are to learn English language, then we, in the beginning, we make it like the dental th, right? And maybe we can say this, that maybe it's the community feature of Indian languages, right? Then there are, alveolar sounds, n, t, d, s, z, and retroflex. And this was the, the possibility of retroflexion for 5, sounds. You see how rich is this possibility of a retroflex sound, right? Like this is, n, n. This is t, d, and this is sh and j, something like that, okay? So that's retroflexion is involved. Then the palato-alveolar sh and j in English found, okay? And then palatal sound, although in English we have only one palatal y, but there are possibilities of other sounds as well. And then same is the case with velar. This is engma, eng, kg, and khg. We Pakistani speakers, we can produce all of them. And then these are the aulular sound. Like there could be one stop, aulular stop, or k, which is used in words like penchi, right? So that's also very much possible. Then the pharyngeal sound, okay, like h and a. And then we also have affricates at labial velar place. So you just imagine that how much rich is the array available of speech sounds to human beings, and then how can we describe them in terms of their production and their classification. So that's an important requirement from the students of phonetics and phonology to describe these sounds as well.